So, yeah, the Union Customs Code is actually the new customs legislation in the European Union. It comes into force on May 1st. Actually, the legislation already started a few years ago, but they still had to work out the implementing provisions. This is now ready, and so now all countries have to apply that legislation. It's not all IT systems are ready, so there's still going to be a lot of transitional measures over the course of the next 4 to 5 years.
But there are some things that categorically change on the 1st of May. There are certain procedures that under the current law, such as IPR drawback or Type D warehousing, they disappear as of the 1st of May. So there's those things that will change the 1st of May. Other things, certain code changes or certain procedures, and as Eric says, there's certain IT systems, they will gradually come in over the next 4 or 5 years, 2020, 2020 plus, under these transitional arrangements.
One of the most important things is that all declarations should be electronic declarations. Actually, a lot of countries have already electronic declarations in place, but not for all procedures. A second item is that with this Union Customs Code, they try to harmonize the electronic customs procedures in Europe. Currently, European Union, that it's not one country. You're talking about 27 to 28 different countries, which all have their different systems, and they've implemented different declaration processes. Although it's based on the single administrative document, you see quite a lot of changes actually. Another example is the valuation of the goods. So currently you can use the first point of sale principle. This will change, so now you have to apply the last point of sale. For some companies this can mean quite an increase in duties, because the last sale has a higher invoice amount. So that's also an important change.
And a big part of that is, which is the UCC really brings into effect, is the Authorized Economic Operator status, in that it becomes a lot more key to a lot of the simplifications and the streamlining of procedures under the UCC. It's also another impact is guarantee requirements. UCC makes it mandatory for any potential or real debt to be guaranteed. Some member states, this was the norm already, but from my perspective in the United Kingdom, that's quite a big change. And for those without authorised economic operator status, there could be a real cost to business to be able to provide that. Yeah. So the goal of harmonising across Europe is quite good, but if you've got a multinational forwarder or a trader, what they find is the changes they have to make are different in each member state, although eventually they will be operating all the same procedures in the same way. There are certain simplifications for carriers or 3PLs that are operating temporary storage. It gives them a great opportunity to reduce some of their obligations. They can move those goods onto temporary storage now. They can hold goods for longer under temporary storage. So at the moment it's 20 days for air, 45 days by sea. That now increases to 90 days. So there is actually some opportunities. The challenges for them is obviously any change in data that they have to provide customs, getting the correct information from their principals in providing that. And also potentially the cost that we talked about, providing guarantees if they're operating customs warehousing or if they're operating temporary storage facilities. They might have to now have a cost that they've not yet incurred.
Some freight forwarders see an opportunity to offer services like centralized clearance. So now they're, for example, located in one port or one country, and with this new facility that will only come in place by 2020, there might be some pilots earlier, but the official date is 2020. They can also offer the service to customers from other countries more easily. Another big thing is the security filing, is on the security filing. So in Europe we currently have the ICS system, import control system, but the obligation mainly lays with the carriers. But the European Commission is looking at a multiple filing system, asking a lot more data elements, and that will definitely impact freight forwarders and maybe also the importers. So it's not clear to what extent the importers themselves will also be affected by that. This is only by 2020 and maybe even a little bit later. So as you can hear, a lot of these changes are not really happening from May 1st yet. Yeah, maybe even more than the freight forwarders, but because all shippers need to look at their licenses, authorizations, and see what's going to what needs to be changed. And you cannot say that it's the same for all shippers because it depends a bit on which procedures they use. So they really have to make that assessment, and if they have the knowledge in-house, they can do themselves. If they don't have the knowledge, they need to look at other parties that can help them, which can also be the logistic service providers, of course.
As we said before, there's these valuation issues that will impact shippers directly on their cost base. There's some changes around valuation in terms of royalties, which may result in some cases of more duty being payable than has been done so far. There's also some changes around the origin rules, so companies should reevaluate the origin of their goods, how that affects their preferential or non-preferential arrangements. And also with their licenses, although the transitional arrangements will mean that the UCC effects may not kick in until 2019 by the latest, there will be a progressional change. So there will be those guarantee requirements if if they've run in their own customs warehousing. There are quite a few traders that are self-filing, so they will have the same impact as the brokers in terms of data requirements. In terms of, and again, it comes back to that AEO. Traditionally, a lot of AEOs have been in the logistics arena rather than traders. If a trader is operating customs warehousing and they're using simplified procedures, then the UCC would say that you have to present to customs an electronic message before you can remove those goods. It doesn't have to be a declaration, but it has to be a message. In most cases, that's not practical. If you've got your e-com type arrangements, it's not practical for traders to do that. So they'll be looking for some kind of waiver of presentation. You can only achieve that by achieving AEO status. So again, companies, whether they're 3PLs or LPSs or traders, should really be looking at that AEO status to give them as many opportunities under the UCC as they can to get the simplifications. Otherwise, a lot of traders may find their only option is a normal importation, pay the duty, put the goods into free circulation. That may be their only option if they don't have AEO. Well, Authorised Economic Operator is really an international quality mark. So it's recognised by a number of companies as a kind of a trusted trader or a reliable compliant trader. We have AEOC Customs, which will provide simplifications for customs procedures, reductions in guarantees for potential debt or actual debts. The AEOS, the security one, will allow traders to have reduced data sets on the security filings that Eric talked about on pre-arrival and pre-departure messages. And it will also be recognised into other security arrangements like CTPAT. Well, key obviously with the electronic declarations, they're going to have an electronic system to actually deliver those declarations and compliant declarations. So having the right data, providing it to customs in the right format at the right time is going to be key. Obviously we spoke about AEO and having that credibility and having that visibility of data. So management information, control of the data, flow of data, so reuse of data where possible throughout the supply chain. So what they need is one thing. What is good for them to be able to reuse and streamline that information and to make it as easy as possible. Obviously that's what they're looking for from a customs filing solution.
Yeah. So currently we already have customs filing solutions in a lot of European countries, more or less 15 countries where we can send fiscal filings to the customs authorities. Actually, we've got applications that support that, applications that can be integrated with customer back office systems. So you've got the declarations. Apart from that, we also have customs warehouse capabilities and all the other variants like IPR, inward relief, etc. And a lot of local specific functionalities to communicate, for example, with the ports, airport systems, So in Europe, you've got quite a lot of port and airport community systems that play a certain role and also want to receive information or where you need to get information from. It's quite a complex thing that we want to simplify for the customers, so that they can also use a similar or the same solution in different countries or in different areas. That we also have the solution for security filings in all the European member states. So there we cover them all, and we want to further build on that to also provide the new ICS functionality by 2020 and offer these solutions to freight forwarders and maybe also importers, depending on the requirements.
Yeah, and from our trader solutions, obviously again, as Eric says, we're looking to integrate with their ERP systems or their purchase order management system. So it's about getting that data early, enriching it, whether that's by master data or by a broker or by the trader themselves, and then formulating that for delivery to customs. And looking forward, that then forms the part for, as we briefly mentioned, things like self-assessment and centralized clearance.
Apart from the solutions themselves, we also give a lot of try to inform the customers in different ways. So we've set up a 2-weekly webinar for our customers, which is attended quite a lot. Apart from that, we send out newsletters in the different countries, because as we said, there are differences. And we also have set up a separate web page where we have published a lot of information, and this is also being kept up to date.
I think they really need to look at what they're doing now. You know, what authorizations are they holding? What procedures are they currently using? What simplifications under the old legislation are they taking advantage of, and how that potentially changes. And as we said, you know, we've got a resource centre, we're running webinars, but there's information from the government authorities as well, from the European Union. They've recently issued an e-learning package. So really it's for companies to get an understanding of what they currently are doing, and how that's affected. And as a key, the thing is key is do they need to be seriously thinking about getting authorised economic status and starting that process? Because again, I can talk from the United Kingdom point of view. We're in a world where the customs authorities no longer have armies of staff. So if anyone is applying for AEO, they're going to find themselves starting to be at the back of a very long queue, maybe. So you know, the people need to be taking that decision early, getting themselves organised. Maybe, you know, depending on the company, have a project team looking at putting together. Because again, under the UCC, the self-assessment for AEO becomes mandatory. So they've got to complete that. It's not just a simple filling of a form. They've got to compile quite a lot of information to make that application. Yeah. So if they don't start that early, as I say, they're going to find themselves at the back of a queue. So. Yeah,
and it's not a one-time effort. They have to be continuously up to date and to look at updates, because customs is not done with this. This is just the beginning. So we expect a lot of changes, even maybe amendments to some of the UCC legislation.
And 1st of May is really the start, not the end. You know, it's not the 1st of May is the UCC. Everyone can forget about it. It's going to carry on as the transitional arrangements kick in, authorisations are reassessed or reapproved. But there's going to be 2 types of ongoing changes. One is going to be corrigendum. So there are issues that they realise that the law is actually wrong, that it's been drafted wrong. So those will be coming out in the coming months, and they will correct the law back to the 1st of May. And the other ones is where the member states have been lobbying for changes, maybe in the Delegated Act, maybe in the Implemented Act. So those changes will be implemented in new regulations, which will only take effect once they're published in the official journal. So as Eric says, one of the key things is this is going to be something that's going to be happening over the next 4 or 5 years. It might be a lot more at the beginning, but it will be continuously changing. So somebody really needs to take ownership within the business to be responsible for keeping an eye on it.